Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We come to the final talks in this series, and we want to talk now about how to get to that final level where we can unlock that hidden beauty that is within us, the method to actually allow it to emerge beautifully. For this, we need to appoint God as the focal point of our existence. He has to be at the helm of our universe. But not only the physical universe, the intimate inner universe, for the intimate being. Religion teaches this, but often we misinterpret religion in thinking that the service that is required by God is the bodily service, like prayers and fast and hajj and giving charity. Whereas God is needless of all of this, and by priority He doesn't need little sajdas and rukus. God is not made by these things. He's neither in a house in Makkah. It has some existential value to it, but this is for the bodily consumption that we need a direction, uniformity, Muslim identity. Service to God is not to be understood purely within the bodily realm. That was a mere introduction for children. Service to God means adoration of God, directedness towards God, giving ourselves over to God. In other words, service to God is nothing to do with bodily surrender. It is to do with the inner psychological surrender. Let us explain this. The one thing that keeps me unperturbed from my state of being me, inevitably, is my ego. In other words, we can say, is my want to retain my ego, which is then a pride. Even when we are humble, even when we become charitable, even when we become forgiving, it is I who is forgiving. It is I who is humble. It is I who is giving myself over to my God. That is the problem. There is only one thing that can be given away to God, and that is my sense of I. That humility then brings about the fullest loss of who I am not. Once we arrive at that point of who I am not, then whatever it is will emerge beautifully. Otherwise, whatever emerges from the context of who I presume myself to be is false. It's not really me, because I've assumed myself to be me. So here is where God becomes very essential for the final legs of the journey. We need to appoint ourselves a God in the image of the real God. Because even here, when we appoint God, it's in a way, creation of our imagination, because the real God is so overwhelmingly splendid, so phenomenal, so majestic, that He cannot be known, He can only emerge. And that is what we will talk about at the next level. But for this point, we need to appoint God, need to create the image of God in the best form possible. So the peak of our aspiration that is deep within us, that we know, needs to be given the name God, the most beautiful one, the most majestic one, the most caring one, the most loving one, the most tolerant, the most selfless. All of these things that are deep within us as aspirations of where we want to be, that has to be given the name God. And then we need to surrender to Him. Even the Sharia of Islam and the religion of Islam, and every religion makes this distinction. We say, Bi-ism Allah, through the name Allah, not through Allah, through the name Allah. The name Allah is appointed. It is not Allah. It is the name Allah. It is something that has a functional value. But Allah is Allah. Qul huwa, say He, the unknown, is Allah for your consumption. From the way He is operating, make that Allah as the pinnacle of our existence and at the helm of our universe. Now here comes the most important part. To humble ourselves in devotion to God. And that is the greatest thing ever that religion has given us. Because humbling means the crushing of the idol. Until now, I have presumed myself to be someone. I'm working towards who I am not. I have finally arrived at this point that I am none of these things, yet I am. That I am assumption has to go. And that I am assumption is a point of ego, and wanting to retain it is pride. When a person kisses the dust with their forehead, it's such rich symbolism and powerful symbolism that this I is fading away in you. I am not. You are. And how beautifully are the spiritual du'as of our Prophet and the Imams constructed. If only we could look at those beautiful spiritual sayings. For me, there is no proof for an Imam beyond these du'as. Not all the cursing and bitterness that comes out, but all the God-centric du'as, those intimate du'as of the Imams. The munajat of Imam Ali that we recite in Masjid Kufa, let us say, or on the night of the 21st of the blessed Imam of ours. How wonderfully he gives over himself to God by acknowledging that he is not. I turn to you, O God. You are the merciful one. I, in a state of lack, am in need of mercy. Immediately chipping away at the ego and the false identity. You are the guide. I am astray. You are the light. I in darkness. You are the life and the living. I am the one in death. You are the needless. I am in a state of poverty. You are the one with utmost clarity. I am the one who's disillusioned and totally baffled and confused. That is the level of humility needed for this level. That we finally begin to give that intimate part of what we are not, and we've associated it to be us, away. The worship of God here is essential worship that relieves us of ourselves. It is not for the sake of paradise, for that paradise is a form of shirk. It is not for the sake of fleeing from hell, for it is a form of distance from God. If a person is worshipping Allah, then he will cry out with the sentiments attributed with the fourth Imam, that, O Lord, if hell is the only path that will lead me to you, then I shall embrace its flames. And I shall say to the inhabitants, the inmates and the keepers of hell who chastise me and torment me, I am in love with the one who burns me. Or as Mullah Ali says, Salamullah alayhi, that, O Lord, this hell that cannot be endured by the heavens and the earth, if you were to fling me therein, O Lord, the body will burn, but the soul will yearn and call you and say, but burn me as much as you want. Why have you turned your face away from me? At this level of devotion to God, it is nothing to do with paradise and with hell, with health or wealth. It's nothing to do with popularity or humility. It's nothing to do with any of those things. These are final moments and final journeys in which the soul is totally removing what is not from itself through the divine touch and connection with God. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let us wholesomely give ourselves over to the pinnacle of our aspirations in the name of God.